Best ball is still going on, even though March Madness, maybe the best ball of them all, is going to kick off today. I guess you don't call it kickoff, tip-off. That's what we call basketball. Either way, it's a new day of drafts here. Underdog Big Board coming up, $200K to first place. And we're going to talk in particular today about the ADPs that might move the most between the Big Board and, of course, Best Ball Mania, which should be coming up hot and heavy right after the NFL draft. But let's talk about it here today. Of course, this is draft number 38 for me, right? That's the right number. March 21st. Again, Thursday, basketball coming up, college basketball. So it should be a fun day here if you are a degenerate gambler / somebody who just enjoys the pageantry of sport. But either way, though, best ball still going on. And thankfully, I don't think I'm competing against any games right now. I don't think the games tip off until 12:15. So we are in the clear on the East Coast. Shout out Tyler here. Shout out Justin here. Appreciate all of our regulars. Of course, now if you are a regular and you're also a member on Splash Play, you can join a special Squirt Squad VIP channel on Pete's Deposit Kingdom Discord or Pal Pete Overzet. So check the YouTube description here if you are a paying member on how to get in there. All this is really, honestly, much easier than I thought. You should have to go into Discord, enter your settings, then sync your YouTube account to Discord, and that's it. So that's pretty easy to get in there, but been having some fun in there already, debating a little bit with our guy Tyler, talking a lot, really just a lot of gifts so far. It's been the main thing, a lot of squirt related gifts, but that is the deal there if you are a member here on the channel. Speaking of members, shout out Tanner here. 13 and 4, so I started paying you for Probably. Thank God, because yesterday was literally one of the worst days of me picking bets for content on Probably. I think we've had literally 2 0-5 days out of the top 5s that I put out on TikTok and then on Twitter, and yesterday was one of them. So, and of course, the moment you put out an 0-5, somebody the next morning then chimes in and goes, 0-5. I'm like, motherfucker. Yeah, you know, shit, when you go fucking 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4, like legit, all of March was 4-1 days. I don't think we hit any 5-0s, but it's like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Jackass, who has not been a good drafter in various rooms, continues to do so here. Nico Collins at pick 8. But we will make our pick, and we will take a slightly discounted Puka Nacua at pick 10. The barest of minimums of discounts here. But when Nico goes at pick 8, that is frothy. Was happy to get Nico yesterday in the second round. And Nico, I guess, is he a guy that can move? Is this a sign of something here, of him fitting the theme, what we're talking about in the video a little bit today? Because I really think that Nico's going to go the other way. I think they're going to add somebody. T. Higgins was asked, I believe, by Lawrence over at NBC Sports. Lawrence Jackson, one of their guys on the upswing there. He basically said that his 5 QBs he wanted to play for were like Lamar, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud. There's 2 more I'm missing in there who are the same kind of high pedigree teams that we always kind of imagine wide receivers going to. But if like T. Higgins forced a trade to Houston, Nico Collins at pick 8 would be one of the worst picks of any point in the draft. Don't expect that to happen while the big board is open, but that is still definitely live as a possibility. It would make you really regret taking a guy like Nico ahead of ADP when he goes normally for much cheaper. All right, with where we are here, somebody recently did ask me about the Kyren Puka pairing. I had no issue with it. A little bit of a wide receiver avalanche going, but we will try to navigate it, and we'll take a Rams correlation here with Kyren Williams. So Kyren and Puka kind of think that they are a chalky duo, whether you're getting them at 9 and 16, whether you're getting them at 10 and 15, 11 and 14. I have seen Puka and Kyren Williams come up a lot in rooms, but I do think, to me, it reminds me of last year where Amon-Ra, St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, oh man, too easy to get these guys, don't take them. What ends up happening, they end up being in winning lineups and also being a key thing that people were terrified of in week 17. So for me here, let's say that, I don't know, that the Rams are playing the equivalent of the Commanders D last year. If they're playing in week 17, you want to have Puka, you want to have Kyren. So I'm happy to go with both these guys in one correlation here. GMs all around. Lots of GMs. Hope you guys are excited for basketball. I feel like basketball is always a fun thing to have on in the background, even if you're not a college basketball fan. NBA yesterday, by the way. I don't know if any of you guys are doing the NBA DFS thing. Again, especially I do love the $4 150 maxes, even though I've realized, you know, because the payout structure for those is so brutal, you really do get like steamrolled if you don't have, you know, the nuts lineup, or at least a large portions of what ended up being the nuts. Yesterday, Jonte Porter was the chalk. I was heavy above the field on him, and that was one of the worst DFS plays of the year. Him and Stanley Umade are 2 of the banes of my existence yesterday, but we are running cold in NBA DFS right now, which is not my favorite. I had a run where I was like winning every single slate on those. Like, these $4 150 maxes are great. And then you see the other side and it's like, oh yeah, it's not always great, especially when we are in prime tanking season in the NBA. Only like 10 games left in the NBA season, which is crazy. Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, one of the guys who could soar. If he gets traded to a Jacksonville, definitely can go up. If he gets traded to a Pittsburgh, maybe less so. I would be curious your guys' thoughts on Ayuk and if you think him leaving the Niners would make him go up or down, because I imagine if he goes somewhere where he's like the true alpha target runner, if he goes to Jacksonville, he's better than Zay Jones by a million miles. He's definitely a better overall boundary receiver than a guy like Christian Kirk, and frankly, a better all receiver than Christian Kirk. I think that for Brandon Ayuk, I would think he should go up, but I feel like he would probably go down a little bit because people just are so obsessed with the Niners offense. But definitely, a question to have. I could go up if he's moved. All right. I mean, I think him going somewhere to be the true wide receiver one would have to be a better run out for him, because he's been a guy where it's really hard for him to get 10 targets in a game. He does so well with 5 to 7 a lot. But, if he did have 10 to 12 as like his ceiling target outcome, I think he'd look a lot better overall week to week. Diggs, to me, though, is the guy in the thumbnail, and you see him again go 22 here. As we talked about, Stephon Diggs in rooms will go in the 20s, sometimes even at the 30s, because people are down on him and how he played at the end of last year. But his run out in terms of free agency right now is still one of the best run outs for any guy who did have a somewhat disappointing back half of the year where you're losing Gabe Davis, you're adding Curtis Samuel, maybe a 1-to-1 there. But the style of receiver, opening up the downfield a little bit more, the outside and downfield a little bit more for Stephon Diggs, where Gabe Davis was primarily running, it's going to be a big thing for him. So Diggs, to me, is one guy where in this room, I think 22 is a normal price. But Diggs should probably, I would say, if rational minds prevail, he should probably get closer where DJ Moore is. DJ Moore should come down closer to Keenan Allen as those guys being 1A and 1B in this hopefully new Chicago Bears Caleb Williams offense. But Diggs, to me, is the one that stood out when I was making the thumbnail. Like, he's the guy to me that I think that rational minds will kind of get there. And honestly, Devontae Adams too. I think these guys should be closer to the turn than they are currently. All right. We have Kyron. We have Puka. We need more receiver. I mean, am I just going to ram it up here? Am I just going to get all rammy with it? I think we have to and just do the full ram stack at this point. This is so much capital tied up in a team, but I do think that the Rams are Niners-esque in terms of the concentration of targets, the concentration of offense. Cooper Kupp at one point was going safely in the 40s. That's the one downside of taking him in a BBM at 34. But where we're lining up for this bet on the Rams, I just think a bet on the Rams is perfectly okay to have Cooper Kupp involved. I think that payout structure is brutal. Check out the Underdog main. All right, fair enough. I actually, I've not played on the Underdog Battle Royales for NBA in a little bit, or whatever they call them. So I'm out on that world for right now. But I don't know, man. $4.50 max has been one of the worst structures that I've seen in a while. All right, so we have Kyron. We have the Rams stack. I still like the Chicago bet. T. Higgins, I don't mind that bet either. Again, can get a better outcome for him moving somewhere else. Could still be a fine outcome for him in Cincinnati. A second running back feels like a mistake at this point, honestly, in this room. I'm going to take Keenan Allen here. Again, very happy to make bets in Chicago. Keenan Allen, the big news item was him showing up at Caleb Williams Pro Day. And also the thing that got Bears fans, I guess, stoked on social media was that at one point, Caleb Williams is like, oh, they traded a 4th round pick to get Keenan Allen here. And then he was saying here, presumably because he is treating himself like part of the Bears organization. Could have also been that they traded him a 4th round pick to get here because he's thinking about Keenan Allen being at the Pro Day himself. But that is a news item there that does make it seem, obviously, in case you were concerned about it, Bears and Caleb Williams looking pretty tight. Round 3 is squirting. Yeah, wide receivers, really. We have 3 guys starting extreme 0RB here, including our guy Short Gamer, of course. A Millie Maker winner many times over. Our guy, well, I guess not many times over, but at least one time over that I'm aware of. Our guy Short Gamer here. And our guy Chunk here. Chunk coming out next Friday. So Chunk definitely a guy that we're excited to have as part of the community, and he'll be making his appearance here as the first guest hosting spot winner of the month. We're going to do that at the end of the month on Friday for him. So tune in next week to see your guy Chunk move up, his first appearance on camera, and he's hopefully will not embarrass himself and all of you at the same time. BWA, going wide receiver heavy here. Jefferson, Adams, Evans, Cooper. That is a heavy wide receiver start. I don't mind it for him. Are the Jags out on Ayuk? Ready was too expensive for them. Apparently, they don't want to pay the 19th pick in Zay Jones. I would think at a certain point you realize that's not smart to not pay that. But they do have to pay the contract too. And Doug Peterson, again, the rope is running out for Doug pretty fast. If this year is a busto one, definitely could be a bad situation for him. So maybe they don't want to invest in that, knowing that you might end up with a coaching changeover again in Jacksonville. I don't know. I think on its face, that's a fantastic trade. To trade Zay Jones and a late-ish first-round pick for Ayuk would look pretty good. But that said, this wide receiver class is so deep. So maybe you talk yourself into, I don't think Brian Thomas is going to be there. A lot of reports right now saying Brian Thomas is going to sneak his way potentially into the top 10, if not at least the top 15. And people think he might go ahead of Brock Bowers because of the position value for a guy like Brian Thomas playing outside receiver and also having 17 touchdowns last year, again, with the 4.3 speed, with the size and all that. Definitely interesting things out there, but maybe you pay that price tag if you know a Brian Thomas isn't going to be there. I would still be willing to take a shot on a Troy Franklin for cheap, but Ayuk is just a better route runner than Franklin is. So I get it. I would make the trade if you're trying to win. If you're trying to win now. All right, Pacheco goes to our guy Short Gamer, breaks his 0 RB run for himself. We'll see what BWA does. Will they keep going extreme 0 RB? I feel like that is the one thing you could say in a lot of rooms. You don't see a lot of pure extreme 0 RBs besides when I'm throwing them out here on stream. Too easy to deviate for tight end, as these guys did here. Too easy to deviate for a quarterback as a little bit of a value. So that is one thing that I feel like remains relatively pristine. And actually, I was talking about the other guy, Robert Griffin III, over Discord. I think that if you are going on a heavy run of receiver, if you're trying to build extreme 0 RB especially, like you really want to hit those first 6 rounds at receiver, at least the first 5. You start deviating at one of those rounds for another player, and it's like your extreme 0 RB just gets a little bit less potent, I think. But that's obviously how I feel about it, if nothing else. Anyone having problems drafting Underdog? Been 3 weeks since I drafted. Won't let me enter a contest. I don't know, man. I have not heard of that one. But if anybody knows how to help out Fried Bologna Sandwich here, Bologna Sandwich, sorry. I want to get his last name, his surname incorrect. Help him out. I mean, I do love, you guys know, I love Terry McLaurin, big on the Terry McLaurin bags, and I don't see that changing here. I'd rather have him than Ridley, rather have him than Addison, and one pick after ADP. That's a discount for where I've been taking him. McLaurin coming down. Team so far, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. Again, really do think that if rational minds prevail, if Jaden Daniels goes to Washington, Terry McLaurin, another guy that I expect to come up into the 40s comfortably, especially if Pittsburgh adds that receiver. Pickens comes down a little. Romo Dunze, maybe Lance Moore as a wide receiver too. I think that, to me, Terry McLaurin should be priced in the 40s a little bit more. But I get it for right now. Just the assumption he's going to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May, as I've talked about enough times. That is such a huge upgrade. The efficiency downfield, the volume downfield is going to be there. And his coaching staff, too, is going to be a big improvement as well for Terry McLaurin getting opportunities downfield. This is McLaurin, who is paid like one of the top star receivers in the league. This is his chance for him to move upwards. So for McLaurin, pick 58, happy to do it. Brian Thomas, again, you see him coming up. I would have been okay taking him on the way back as well. Oh, man. I think this is a Ridley spot for me, but tight end would be okay as well. No bets to correlate with right now. I want to get some shares of Kyle Pitts. I don't know that I want to reach for him like this, but I am going to get a share of Kyle Pitts here. Probably, honestly, would have been happy to take Joe Mixon. Not dying for Kenneth Walker at this point. We'll see. Chunk loves talking about his old college days. So don't worry. You're not really going to be hosting the show, to be clear. It's more you're a co-pilot, but Chunk's going to try to take over the show for me in real time. We'll see. He'll be like, back in my OK State days, we wouldn't have drafted a stream like this one. Selfishly want the Steelers to grab Ayuk, regardless if it brings Ayuk's value down. Need a prototype. Oof, boy. That would really, it would lessen the bet on Pickens, which is not great. Like you want to see Pickens get a shot to be a wide receiver 1, I would say. So I don't know. Like you bring in Ayuk, you're just never going to see Pickens get to that level. And you have Pickens kind of butting his head up against the glass ceiling, even worse than an Arthur Smith offense with a better receiver than Deontay Johnson. So I think, if you're a Steelers fan, I think you want to see Pickens get the full run. Then you upgrade a 1B guy, or a number 2 guy flat out. That's what I would try to do. I don't know. I would take an underneath guy. I think would be a nice addition for that. Though Pickens probably going to expand his route tree, not be just like a straight go route kind of guy moving forward. So like to me, like a Brian Thomas probably doesn't make sense. You're having duplicative skill sets there. But somebody who, again, like a Lad, honestly, a Lad McConkey in Pittsburgh would be a pretty big win. Guy who can run the routes, who is fast, but isn't really a downfield target. Roman Wilson is a little bit more of a downfield guy, but I guess he could theoretically be kind of an underneath vessel using the speed that way. That's what I would try to do. But, I'm not the Pittsburgh front office. Forgive me, Spags, for I am late. I'm no forgiveness allowed. None allowed. No, of course. I appreciate everybody being here, whether you're live or after the fact. And again, it's a slow period right now. Not a ton of news, but appreciate you guys subscribing down below. Again, Splash Play, new drafts Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Talk about the news, talk about the rumors, trying to find little angles and wrinkles, talk about guys who can move, things like that. So that's the goal here. And of course, Underdog as well. Double your deposit up to $100 on Underdog by using that promo code SPLASH right now. Anybody else in this range here that could move up? Calvin Ridley probably locked in. Marquise Brown, I do think, could have one more rise left in him. He's now ahead of where Kadarius Toney was, ahead of where Sky Moore was, certainly ahead of where MVS was. But Brown is just such a public player, as I've mentioned countless times. I think when BBM hits, it wouldn't shock me to see him pass up. I think he can pass. I think Ridley comes up too, but I think he can pass Godwin. I think he can pass Addison. Depends where Brian Thomas goes, but he can be passed. McLaurin, I think, should come up, but he could pass McLaurin. I think I would never underrate the public's enthusiasm for Marquise Brown, even though it's less beneficial to draft him in a big board right now because he was going in the 110s, 105s for a large portion of this draft. For Marquise Brown, though, I think that when it gets to BBM, I think he has one more ceiling of level he can hit, and really, it would not shock me to see him go in the 40s. Which, because again, like you guys, a lot of people who are drafting right now love Marquise Brown. People drafting in July and August love Marquise Brown even more. And if they don't add somebody else there, I think Brown is going to come up another 10 spots at least. Got another pick coming up here. See what we do with this one. Hollywood and Pickens back to back. Assuming Pickens doesn't get knocked down by an Ayuk, I agree. All right. 0140 here. Double elite with Brock Bowers wouldn't feel bad. Christian Watson as wide receiver 5 would also not feel bad. Are these guys going to take Watson, do you think? I feel like one of them would. Let's see if we can push Bowers around. I think that Tokarog here is going to take Bowers, would be my guess, but we'll see. We'll give it a shot. I think a Pitts Bowers build would be pretty fun. 2 Georgia guys, different levels of Georgia guy, though. We can do that. Ridley over Hawkins seems wrong. Maybe I'm a Ridley hater. Not when you account for how much of a downfield thrower that Levis was last year. Like he really, for a conservative offense, they let him go nuts with the deep ball, and that might be because that's in his traits and all that. But yeah, I think Ridley, to me, they should probably be closer to 1-1. I don't think Hopkins should be ahead of him, though. Like Hopkins is now, I think we're entering year 32 for him, 31 or 32. So getting a little bit older for sure. Not that Ridley isn't, but at least Ridley has a 1.5 years of no mileage on the tires. That might be a little bit better for him. All right, 0151 here. No Molo is the one who takes Bowers, even though he already had Laporta. So a lot of capital tied up at tight end for No Molo. This pocket's a tough one. Najee, Chubb, Eckler, Warren, Swift. I think Swift's just going to keep coming up, and I think he's a more dynamic back than Najee. I'm going Swift in this group. I think Swift should be in the 70s right now. Swift, because we have the bet on Keenan Allen. Team so far, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, and Kyle Pitts. I'll tell you what, I love this build. I do love this build. Yeah, I mean, look, I really think I got guys I like. I got guys like Watson to me. I think he might have one more run of ADP rising coming up, just for people catching up on the fact that when he did play, he was pretty good. Obviously, the health and all that in the early part of the year wasn't great. Him tanking a little bit when Jordan Love was bad wasn't great. But then when Love was good, he was healthy. He had his best game of the year. The KC game was really good for Watson, if I remember correctly. So Watson, I think, maybe have one more run in him, but probably not a Diggs level run. Paris Campbell to the Eagles. Can't wait for someone to bet on a 6-year breakout. They also added Devontae Parker, so that's now getting kind of crowded there. Let's see how it goes. Do I do any baseball drafts? No, baseball is not my Badge Bros. Great site or great channel to go to. Go check those guys out. But no, baseball is not my interest point personally. Football year round is the thing. I sometimes dabble in baseball or basketball or I definitely dabble more in basketball DFS. But for basketball, it's just I prefer football. Need to get more Swift. He had a sneaky 1K yards last year. Yeah, and that was not an offense that was feeding him that well. It was definitely a situation there where he was getting the ball whenever they were ahead. When, in particular, if he was a part of pulling them ahead, he'd get the ball. If he wasn't, and if the game got really out of hand, they'd bring in Gainwell. So for Swift, I think there's upside, and really paid him big money. They want him to be a guy who's a vessel to keep the pressure off of Caleb Williams. And this offense, man, like none of these guys they added are top 5 at their position, between DJ Moore, between Keenan Allen, between, DeAndre Swift even. But it's the collective addition of all these guys who are just pro receivers who are going to be in the right spot. We're also going to be able to work with Caleb too and be able to kind of get the best out of him, both in training camp as well as just in game as well. Like they're going to clean up a lot of his mistakes. They're going to make it easy on him. Like Chicago's offense. I know I'm like so in the bag for it to keep talking about it every stream, but I like the pro day did nothing to spook me off of that. Again, Keenan Allen showing up with Caleb did nothing to spook me off of that. I think Chicago, team of not a team of destiny, I guess would be the wrong way to say that, but like a team that I think goes 10-7 next year. I think they can go 10-7, or at the very least, like a fun 9-8 that's maybe live for a playoff spot and kind of wilts down the stretch, falters down the stretch. I'm worried Moore is kind of a moron too. Are we talking about Kellen Moore or DJ Moore? Which Moore are we talking about? I'd just draft Bucky Irving if I wanted a Swift type back. That's fair. Look, I think Swift has always been a little bit more overvalued by the public than I think, than he is by teams, it seems. But you make the case. Sheikh Zula takes Caleb Williams. He has DJ Moore, though, so it does make sense. Bit of a downer for this team, though. I guess I'm just going to keep doing the Brian Robinson thing. We have the bet again on McLaurin. Brian Robinson's here. He'll be my 3rd running back off the board. Team would have been nice with Caleb, but we can live without Caleb. Adonai Mitchell goes to Nomolo here. Really still think this is incorrect. Worthy at 97, Mitchell 107. Mitchell is one of few guys to be as big as he is, to be as fast as he is. Worthy is the fastest guy ever, but is objectively a little bit small. Worthy, as we talked about a lot on here, better target earner in college. Mitchell, though, more equipped to be in the pros and be a guy that matters. But Worthy, if you want to make the case, maybe faint whiffs of Tank Dell in terms of the size, in terms of the speed, but he's not as good of a downfield target as Tank Dell, so I don't know. My nose is so itchy still from being sick for fucking weeks on end. Chuba Hubbard to pick 109 when he normally goes in the 130s. A little bit lofty there. I don't think that price tag's wrong, but you probably take Benson ahead of him. You probably take Chase Brown ahead of him. Would not be a move that I would make personally, but I didn't make it. What is Nomolo going to do with his 1-2-4-2? Nothing interesting. We have a 0-3-5-1 right now. One more receiver could maybe dunk it home, but I think we could make running back feel really good too. Oh yeah, it's gonna feel really good. Chase Brown or Benson is a tough call for me. I do think Brown is going to end up having a major role alongside Zach Moss with contingent upside as well. So I'm going to take Chase Brown here at 111. Benson might end up with a better landing spot. The Cowboys won. Somebody was asking, Chakotay was asking Jonathan Brooks or Trey Benson get drafted by the Cowboys. If they get drafted in round 3 by the Cowboys and it's only Rico Dowdle there, I think they would come up to probably this range. 60s, 70s would be my guess. And that might be a little bit short selling it. Because people love the Cowboys offense. Cowboys pretty public. It might be closer to Rachaad White Pacheco range, which would be a really aggressive one, but that could be the case. Brooks, though, with the injury thing, I think would kind of keep him down a little bit more. Benson would probably be wheels up, even though, Benson analytically was not that great of a back. He did grade out well athletically, so you kind of have to, treat him with a new set of eyes. But at FSU, for as good as FSU was with how many leads they had, that's got Gus Edwards at 112. There's reports that came out today the Chargers are going to take it back at pretty good capital in the draft. I think the Gus steam to the 140s was okay. Gus to the 110s is kind of egregious. But some of these picks for these guys have been egregious. So what are we going to do? All right, Sammy, love you all. Got to rewatch. Let's go score. Shout out Sammy, of course. Always great energy. Jerome Ford to Dallas. No. Jerome Ford Jerome Ford's going to be on Cleveland. They're bringing in, what's his face? Deonta Foreman to be the Nick Chubb replacement because Chubb is not going to be there in week 1. So there we go. But I don't know. Ford leaving would be a huge mistake for them. Ford is like a Swiss Army knife that they don't currently have. And Chubb is not going to be coming off an ACL tear, especially. Maybe he could have been, if he were healthy all of last year and could have got involved in the pass game and done some stuff, because I think he's always been a little bit underrated as a pass catching back. But the Foreman move to me is like he's going to do what Kareem Hunt did, which is they end up taking out Jerome Ford at the goal line, bringing Foreman. Like, sucks, but that's the way it's going to be. Jane Daniels goes to the guy in the one hole. Would have liked to have pushed him all the way back. A one hole guy is playing for him. I don't know, not going anywhere that I see. Logical way to me to play Jane Daniels right now, to take him with Washington, guys. Try to capture that outcome. Shohei got a gambling problem. That hasn't been confirmed or anything, but what do I think about it? I think it does seem a little suspect. That said, if he's your cherished translator and he's been on the road with Shohei since he's been in America, doing that, he's a friend and you have millions of dollars, I could see paying your friend millions. That said, kind of weird that he paid the bookie or whatever directly that money. So they got to investigate it further. Japan, though, like, I don't think Japan is like gambling crazy, is it? Like, at least from what I know, I don't recall that being a feature of them. So of the country overall. But look, Michael Jordan, the competitiveness is what drove him to gambling in a major way. For Shohei, he could gamble a lot of money and lose it, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen to some guys. All right, so we have Stafford here. I don't trust these fucking guys. These guys have been kind of wild cards, but the right thing to do is to continue to push these stacks. So I am going to do that. I am going to show my faith here for Jerome Ford, and I'm going to take him as my RB5. Let's see. Yeah, I knew Japan has serious laws against weed. I feel like anything that's a vice there, they're pretty aggressive about. There's workarounds, certainly, if you were tied to certain criminal organizations, perhaps, maybe you can find ways to bet. But if he did that, then I think we would have known about a lot worse troubles for Shohei than owing, an Orange County bookie some money. So we'll see, but definitely not a great scene, and definitely one where you have to dig into it further. But neither outcome on that one would shock me, but I would assume that he's just trying to help out his cherished friend, would be my guess, but it's my guess. Oh, okay. It was only 4.5 million. Okay. Well, if it's only 4.5 million, what's 4.5 million between friends? It's not Bruno Mars bad. Bruno Mars reportedly owes BetMGM or MGM the casino $55 million in gambling debts from doing his residency there. So bit of a tough scene. No Molo really running out the clock. All right, we get Matthew Stafford here. We did it, guys. We got our aged statuesque QB. But of course, we got the big bet on the Rams. So you got to do it. 1-5-5-1 build right now. Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, and Kyle Pitts. You could make the case that maybe I starved QB too much by taking the running back as heavy as I did, that we got the discount, or, we got Stafford at the correct ADP at least. We'd have to reach for him a little bit early to close out the stack. So I'm happy with the team so far. Wish that we could have gotten Jane Daniels instead of Jerome Ford. I think that would make the team sing for me a little bit more, but it's okay. 4.5 million. Yeah, no, he owes. It's American money is that he owes, I believe. From the report that I saw. Yeah, Japan's hard on everything. There are guys I know from pro wrestling where it's like pro wrestlers, a lot of guys smoke weed because you have to deal, pain tolerance stuff, and that's a better alternative than taking pills and getting addicted to that. So but in Japan, there was one guy who at some point got found with like a syringe of weed or whatever, or whatever. I don't think it wasn't like a joint, but it was like a syringe of weed. They got found with that and got banned from the country and almost had jail time. So there's definitely, some dodgy ethical things. Check shows pinky finger. I'll tell you if he's gambling or not. Yeah. Well, anything Yakuza related, right? They chop the pinky. 11 trillion yen. 3 QB build. Possibly. We'll see, though, because my correlations are pretty dry right now. Without Caleb, without Love, without Jaden, we really don't have an obvious correlation right now. And Kirk Cousins already went too. So Gonna have to get creative for correlating QBs. Drake May goes too, so we can't even play the Drake May goes to Washington outcome either. Kind of tough. Dodgers snitching to save money in 2040. I mean, this could have an impact on him this year, so I would think I'm sure they would prefer to protect that secret if they could. Marshawn Lloyd goes 136. This room isn't wild. This room feels like a splash play regular room with how guys been getting reached for over enthusiastic people. But I think we've built a good team, but definitely a lot of reachies going around. Our old pal Christian Watson rips Sig. Okay. I mean, look, Christian Watson, I would rip a Sig because there's a few times where he made you nut during the year too. It's just that Green Bay is going to be a team where it does jump around a lot there. I think, it's deliberate. They've already talked about it this offseason. They want to have other guys spiking week to week. I think the one reliable thing there week to week is going to be Josh Jacobs, to be honest. But I believe in Musgrave's talent. Reed showed me a lot last year, even though I didn't think he was that great coming in. For Watson, I think the world of. I just wish he could stay healthy and can emerge as a true number one. Dobbs is like a fake number one in terms of how he plays, just being a boundary guy, a move the sticks kind of guy. And then you have Wicks and even Bo Melton, who ran okay out the slot. Like they have guys to throw the ball to. So that's why to me Watson works as wide receiver 5. Watson is wide receiver 3, a little bit less good. All right, we have the bet on Chicago, and I don't feel like Michael Wilson's going to add a lot of value, so I'm going to take Cole Kmet here. And fuck the Caleb Williams guy anyway. He didn't took Caleb Williams for his DJ Moore, but he's not taking tight end. So we'll take Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is going to have a few multi-touchdown games. When you have DJ Moore out there, when you have Keenan Allen out there, when you have DeAndre Swift as a threat as well, when you have Caleb's own mobility as a threat, there's going to be plays where Caleb Williams bootlegs around in the red zone and finds a wide open Cole Kmet. It's absolutely going to happen. Cole Kmet at 154, I think, is a pretty good pick. Still being paid a lot of money, too. So I took Jacobs 5th last night. Love 2 a.m. drafts. Yeah, dealing with drunks and sleepy people. Never going to be a bad thing. But, can't do a stream at 2 a.m., unfortunately. Well, I guess you could, but I'm not going to do a stream at 2 a.m., unfortunately. All right. I think we'll have an out for this player. I think we'll have at least one out at receiver for him. So I'm going to get my second QB and make it Baker Mayfield. Sucks for the Mike Evans guy. Sucks for the Chris Godwin guy if they need a QB. Let's see. Did I fuck one of these guys? The Evans guy, BWA. He took Drake May and Deshaun Watson. You had your shot at Baker. I don't feel bad for him. The Godwin guy. Godwin guy's got AR and Kirk. So no, they didn't really need him. Not that I really care about their happiness anyway, but, to confirm that I didn't fuck them that bad. I didn't. All right, teams so far, we'll give it a read. Got Matthew Stafford and Baker Mayfield at QB. At running back, Kyren Williams, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. Also, the even more Rams correlation. Former Ram Baker Mayfield. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson. And then at tight end, Kyle Pitts and Cole Kmet. We're going to have to stick some wide receiver picks late, obviously from just going off the position. But I think this is really how I like working rooms, where you go on a run. Sheikh Zula doing a version of it, but he doesn't have enough at receiver. Sheikh Zula's RB run here would be good if he wasn't reaching like insanity for Gus Edwards. But that's the kind of run you want to go on here, where we hit wide receiver. We did get one running back early, so we could make the case we could have one less running back by now. But trying to manage the pockets a little bit better has been one of my focal points, and I think I'm doing it all right. Time to break out the Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton stack. Hey, we're still live for Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton. Still live for Jalen Hyatt. We got a lot of outs. We got a lot of good things. Still live for some imaginary Vikings wide receiver 3 and JJ McCarthy. We'll find it out here. But Daniel Jones, probably the biggest salvage point. Even though Drew Lock coming for that job. He's only coming if he's got a shot to beat out Daniel Jones for sure. God, I hate doing that DJ Slayton stack. Failed me last season. I mean, Slayton had some spike weeks late. The Daniel Jones part didn't work, but Slayton worked a little bit. Slayton had like two usable games in the playoffs, I think. At least one. You don't know that. They still have a lot of money tied up in them. I think priority number one for them should be salvage Daniel Jones. But the coaching staff there, Brian Dable, very headstrong. So that's the other flip side of that is that you know, they could have made their mind up on Daniel Jones after paying him insanely after having made their mind up on him. You needed to have a Slayton team get to the playoffs. There you go. Get some dough in week 16 and 17. I knew he had two. Yeah, Slayton was like quietly went off late. Obviously, didn't help you weeks 1 through 14, but when you got to the playoffs, you were able to survive that. Malachi Corley, pick 161. Still one of the picks that makes no sense. It's like people just never corrected from the fact that every other wide receiver showed out and moved upwards, and he did not. Jalen Polk can be a bailout at receiver for me right now. Wide receiver 6. No Seattle correlation, though. We could maybe find some late. Oh, I don't enjoy this very much. No, sir. I'll get a share of Jalen Polk here. We got a lot of vets at wide receiver, a lot of guys with fairly solid roles start the year. So Polk, he's a fine player. It's just, as I've mentioned countless times here, when people want to, push the Javon Bakers, the Burtons of the world, like Polk's a fine player. This is a class though, where there's like legit 10 guys, maybe 12 to 15 you can put above him. But we just got to get a body in. 2562 build here. Could also try to push some Carolina correlation maybe. I don't mind Bryce Young as a bailout QB. Just think that offense is going to be a lot better with Dave Canales at the helm. Splash Play regulars know that, but if you're new here, try to bring up the same points that are going to be relevant. Quick plug as well. Subscribe down below. Hit that like button, especially smash that like button even. Again, this is my full-time job. This is my sports betting app. Probably the 2 things I do every day. So your support matters a lot here. If you enjoy the streams, hitting that like button, hitting the join button, all that stuff. And of course, really subscribing, leaving a comment after the fact. All of that does help out quite a bit. And of course, probably as well, as the weekend goes on, especially for March Madness, all the bets have had time to kind of catch up and markets to get more efficient. So there really weren't a lot of plus EV bets that I saw this morning. But I think once we get into the weekend in particular, there's going to be a lot of great bets on Probably. So check it out for yourself. Probably.com/subscribe with that promo code FIRST to get half off. Okay. Did we start building out Daniel Jones stuff? I really hate this QB situation they put me in. Tez Walker could also be a nice little wide receiver to add to this group. And I'm going to do that here. We only went with 5 wide receivers early, so I feel kind of thin there. At running back, I'm kind of less concerned about this running back room. We can add one more, and that would feel okay. So I'm going to really focus on my wide receivers and running back and hope QB gets sorted out along the way. But I could live with a Stafford Baker team. I don't think it's going to kill me. It's unlikely to be the best team in the world. But like if my alternative is taking an unstacked Geno or trying to force a Geno Noah Fant stack, taking Bryce Young. Actually, Bryce, I don't mind. A little bit of mobility wouldn't be a bad thing. And Daniel Jones coming off the ACL tear. I think he plays week 1. If not, probably it might not even be on the pup list, honestly, if he doesn't play. But the mobility there being an issue is like if he becomes a pure pocket passer, he hasn't shown a lot of success there. He's a willing deep ball thrower, but I think for Jones, I might take him here, but I just don't want to. I'm not going to go out of my way to do it. 4 QB build stood too much in 20 rounds. One of my best teams last year in BBM was a 4 QB build, so I'm not opposed, but it's got to be you hit those pockets, you get guys at a value, you get maybe start your run late, but you have, I don't know, like what the equivalent would be. This would have been a bad one last year, but like you spend draft capital taking Pittsburgh's receivers, you take Pickett for free late, like it would have been the equivalent last year. Then you also have 3 other guys with that. I think for my 4 QB team last year, that was pretty good. It was like I had Purdy and like Garoppolo and someone who wasn't bad. I feel like a Stafford tier guy, but it was probably overkill because like I didn't need Garoppolo. Obviously, he didn't end up playing. But because of the way I used capital in that one, the team worked better. Where I hit RB early, that was a McCaffrey team as well. I hit wide receiver for a good run. So I think you can do 4 QBs, but I don't know that the 4 QBs actually help as much as like the way that you end up aligning pockets around the 4 QBs other positions, if that makes sense. I think the way you align draft capital for a 4 QB build ends up making the team good, even though you don't really need the 4 QBs. It's probably a correct way to look at that. How hard does Dave Canales squirt? I mean, he's talking about running the ball a lot, so a little bit less than you want to see, but I think just he's going to run a good offense. That's really the main thing for me. So Estime would not be, at this point, we could free roll Estime, but Bryce Young is a little bit more appealing. I am going to take Bryce Young here. Just don't trust one of these, or this guy in particular, No Molo, to not take a third QB, and I would like to get a QB with some mobility. Yeah, I need to get one something correlated with Baker Mayfield here, but we'll figure that out. 4 QBs like taking 12 wide receivers. Like Spags said, if there's value. I don't know if it's like taking 12 wide receivers. I think it's like taking 9 if you went, or 8 or 9 if you went 0 RB. It's like you're probably overkilling it. But again, like if you just starve QB and don't take QB until, like this round here, and then your 4 QB build is Levis, Carr, Geno, Bryce. Like that's a decent 4 QB build that makes sense. We're not able to push Estimate back. I gambled on that one. Might have been able to push Bryce back. Oh, well. It was more important to me to get a mobile QB as my third QB here, but I would have liked to have gotten Estimate for free. This wasn't meant to be. All right, come on, No Molo. No Molo really fucking soaks up the clock to make mediocre picks. That's how I feel about No Molo's position next to me here. Dylan Labe. Wow, I had to really think about the Dylan Labe pick. I mean, honestly, okay, so at this point, Trey Palmer makes sense to give us finally some Tampa Bay correlation. I don't hate DeMarcus Robinson either. He is going to be the wide receiver 3 again, and frankly showed more upside. But I'll take Trey Palmer just to give Baker somebody to go along for the ride with him. This actually might be a 3 tight end Tommy Tremble build. When Big Board Superflex? I don't know. I would have thought it would have been out already. They might not be doing one. I mean, they're already pushing rookie sophomores. Maybe if Big Board fills, they do a smaller one. But yeah, I haven't heard anything. But they're pushing rookie sophomore harder. If you go to actually an Underdog, I got confused this year. I was like, did the Big Board fill? Because they don't show you the Big Board. You have to like pick pre-draft best ball instead of rookie sophomores. They're pushing rookie sophomores very hard. And rookie sophomores not doing the drafts on stream this year, but I would say in general, more of a player picking tournament. Try to get correlation if you can. But there's not gonna be a lot of correlation. Hey, you're talking like Stroud Tank kind of correlation is basically one of few things there. So maybe trying to hit on an AR Brock Bowers type of outcome, even though I think that's getting a little bit less likely. Gerald Everett going overlooked? Maybe. I think they're just going to run some 2 tight end stuff. I think they're going to run 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. Like, I don't think it's going to be a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. I think they're going to try to have protection, for Caleb Williams. They're going to try to let Keenan Allen and DJ Moore do the work. Like, what is fundamentally, you could have a field stretcher with those guys, and I'm sure they'll have like Tyler Scott or whoever is the new Tyler Scott come in and do that a little bit. But what do you really need if you have Moore and Allen out there? You don't need a third receiver. Those 2 guys, one of those guys is going to get open, and or they're going to pick somebody else open, and you have Swift out of the backfield too, or Roshan, who's still a good enough player as a blocker and as a pass catcher. They have a lot of outs that I think are going to be fine for both tight ends. But if I had to guess, I think that Chicago's going to run more 2 tight end sets. Because Everett, was a good blocker last year. In addition to being a passable, pass catcher. Superflex is a lot of fun. Superflex's butt. I tend to err on the Superflex's butt side of things, but I get people enjoy it. It's a niche for sure. Take Bigsby goes. Would have been a nice guy to scoop up as a late running back value. Going to have a role in Jacksonville. Daniel Jones, go to FFB holes. Oh, I think he's doing buttholes here. You really don't. This is one of those mistakes, man, that it's a luxury to 20-round draft. You have AR, you have Kirk Cousins. He didn't stack up Kirk Cousins, so never mind. This is just not a good team. Got Rondale Moore, but you just don't need Daniel Jones in that build. Like, what does Daniel Jones give a build with Cousins and NAR? Not very much, I would say. All right. Ugh. Ugh. Yucky pocket. I think running back is going to be good enough, but I will take Dobbins just to give me one more in here. I don't think I need to do 2 more rounds of wide receivers. I will probably take one here on the 20th round. But the team so far with 1 pick left: Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Kyren Williams, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins at running back. Dobbins just a free roll play here, I guess. Could make the case I don't need him, but I'll take the shot. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson, and an 2 rookies and then 1 second-year guy with Jalen Polk, Tez Walker, Trey Palmer, and then Kyle Pitts and Cole Kmet at tight end. Really don't think I need a 3rd tight end here. Would have been willing to take Brendan Rice. Brendan Rice goes. You know what? Let's make the bet on Colby Parkinson. I've made a lot of bets on Allen, Davis Allen. I'm going to make a bet on Colby Parkinson here because I do think these guys should probably be closer in ADP, if not flipped. Our guy Tyler talking about it a little bit, looked up a few articles as well. There's one on ESPN actually that came out within the last 24 hours. Parkinson thinks he's a starter, thinks he's coming there for a bigger role. I think he's coming there to block primarily, and Davis Allen was a good pass catcher last year, but it's an ambiguous tight end situation, so I'm not gonna only take Allen, basically. Final team for me here: Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, and Bryce Young. And for what it's worth, if Parkinson is the true starter, Rob Gronkowski gets drafted here in the round 20, which a great draft by FFB holes. Parkinson could be a guy, by the way, to fit the theme of the video. If he's going to be the Rams' like full-time tight end, and I don't think that's a sure thing given that Davis Allen is good, he probably should be in like the 150s, and right now he doesn't get drafted in most drafts. So that'll be one guy to fit the thumbnail as well. But anyway, final read of the team: Stafford, Baker, Bryce Young at QB. At running back, Kyren Williams, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson. Damn it, I was hoping I could read the whole thing before they finished. Got to label my last team too. Jalen Polk, Tez Walker, Trey Palmer closes out at wide receiver. And at tight end, Kyle Pitts, Cole Kmet, Colby Parkinson. I like the team. I think QB getting away from me kind of fucked me a little bit. Do think Bryce Young being mobile, though, I'd rather have him than Daniel Jones, but I should have taken somebody correlated with him. But at this point, honestly, maybe one of Tez Walker, Jalen Polk could end up correlated with Bryce Young. That'll be the hope, but there we go. No one else in here hits the vape after waking up in the middle of the night, and it's there you go. Nothing else sums up Splash Play better. So first things first, again, if you're a member right now of this channel, check the description down below. You can now get on a special Discord channel, part of Pete's Deposit Kingdom Discord, by being a member here on Splash Play. So that's going to be the main way. When I put out Spags rankings, it's going to come through there. I'm sure I'll post a YouTube comment too. That's going to be the main way I communicate with you guys today. Actually mentioned that there were spots on the big board for everybody besides our guy, Michael Thomas. So that was it's kind of thing we're going to do every day. So again, go join, hit the join button down below, and get into the Discord. Very easy to do it. You just have to add your YouTube channel, sync it up with your Discord membership, and you'll be good to go. Again, probably my baby on there. Get some good bets in for March Madness and for NBA. We sucked ass yesterday. That's going to happen, though, and I will tell you honestly, when we do suck ass, the second time we've had an 0-5 on our top 5 out of all the months of doing content, it sucks because we have to go to fucking Miami next week to raise money. So trust me, if we lose, we're stressed. But the goal is to not lose that often, and if you do lose, to not lose very much with probably. So it's not a great sales pitch. We track data from the winningest sportsbooks around the world to allow you to properly price bets, to find mathematically inefficient probabilities to take advantage of. And that's the main thing here. So check it out at probably.com/subscribe. Underdog as well. Promo code SPLASH on there. You know that. Double your deposit. Stochastic. Get some data and Sims tools in your life. I'm sure even their college basketball stuff right now. Get it for yourself with 15% off and promo code SPLASH. And here's all the members of the channel, including our guy Michael Thomas, who joined as perhaps an act of penance. I don't know. I'm not unbanning him yet, though. So these fine folks, though, pay $5 a month to help me put on the show, and they're very much appreciated for it. And, of course, the reading of names coming up tomorrow. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. I'll do this gesture. Woo! Rodeo. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Do all that. And, of course, drafts every day, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m., including Zero RB Friday coming up tomorrow. So I will see you guys then. Enjoy March Madness and enjoy your days. And, of course, good luck. Bye.